Welcome to Dudley DeBosier On Demand. I'm Chad Dudley with my partners Stephen DeBosier and James Pelche, back for another week of answering live questions from callers, from email questions, and we're happy to be here. And this week we promised James Pelche, and here he is. James, great to have you on board.
So excited to be here on MTV with my two-part MTV.
It's MTV, man. It's not MTV.
So excited to be here on MeTV. What blessed to be here. Thank y'all for having us and being here with my two partners. It's fantastic. I was away on vacation with my family last week and got to relax, rewind, but excited to be here on the show.
We had great participation last week. We had a bunch of callers, and we've had a bunch of people email us in questions that we're going to answer here tonight, and we're really excited. Dudley DeBosier, our mission, we want to change the way people think about law firms one relationship at a time. One of the things that we do to fulfill that mission statement is our Random Act of Kindness today. And our Random Act of Kindness Day tomorrow.
You
want to tell them about what we're doing tomorrow?
Absolutely. Tomorrow we have our Random Act of Kindness. To give you a better understanding, we've been very blessed, very lucky with our law firm, and we've been able to have the opportunity to give back to the community. So what we decided was, it's kind of the pay it forward idea. You may have seen some of these things going on. The pay it forward idea is simply this. If you've done something and somebody's blessed you, we'll give it to somebody else. So we decided we would have what's called a Random Act of Kindness. The way it works is we pick a day out of the week. We've done things like we had some of the girls at our office going out on Government Street handing flowers to people on Valentine's Day. We had, the runners around LSU Lakes. They're running around. They're hot, sweaty. We had people out there handing out waters to them. Tomorrow, because it doesn't get much hotter than July in Louisiana, except August, and tomorrow we're going to have a lemonade day. So at our office, we're going to have lemonade. And Chad, who puts on the lemonade?
It's Leroy, and Leroy is just a fantastic kid. And we met him through the Children's Hospital, and his lemonade has actually won several awards in various contests. And he is going to come to Dudley DeBosier, crank out his secret lemonade recipe for us, and we're going to be giving out free lemonade to people that come by the office. Come by on 1075 Government Street, and we're going to be donating to the Children's Hospital through that activity. So we're looking forward to it. Again, Random Act of Kindness, we've had a lot of fun with it. We know that every day clients call us because their life was impacted by something out of the blue, something out of their control, and this was a way to maybe put some good stuff in the mix, a positive spin on random acts and try to make some good things happen in the community. We've had fun with it. Everyone at our office has had fun with it. And one thing that they've done is we got our, let's say, Random Act of Kindness card that whenever they do a random act of kindness for someone in the community, they pass it, and the card just says, look, pass it on to someone else. And it's been cool. We're really enjoying it. If you have some free time tomorrow, come by our office at 1075 Government Street, have some lemonade on us. It's Leroy's Lip Smacking Lemonade, and it's going to be fun.
In addition to that, the more cups of lemonade we give out, the more money we donate. So not only do you come by and get a benefit to yourself, but you'll also be benefiting the charity for the fact that every cup we give out, every cup you drink, we're glad to donate the money. It's pretty nice.
And it's $1, right? Isn't that what we do? Every cup is $1 to the Children's Hospital.
Yep. And so come by, get some, and we're going to make some donations to the Children's Hospital. The other thing, if you're interested in getting involved in the Random Act of Kindness project, call our office and say, hey, look, I want to find out more about that. I want to get involved. We'll get you some Random Act of Kindness cards, or you can come by, pick them up, have some fun with it, buy someone coffee, help someone across the street, pass out a flower, something nice, and it's just been really cool. We hope it takes off in Baton Rouge, and we're just having a lot of fun with it.
It's taken off in our office, and it's taken off in a great way. What we found is that it started off with people saying, I just did this. Somebody behind me in the McDonald's line, I just paid for their food. So when they got up, all they got was this Random Act of Kindness card. And we have a guy that works for us, and he apparently goes around just changing people's tires on the side of the interstate and things like that, and just helping out anybody he can. So it's been a fantastic thing.
We've got 80 employees, and it used to just be events, and Chad listed some of them, but like for St. Patrick's Day, we provide rides home for anybody that wants a ride. We know there's a lot of people that indulge a little on St. Patrick's Day, and so we provide rides for them. And it started out with just being events, kind of like the lemonade event, but it really has taken a life of its own with our employees. I mean, we have 80-something employees. We get notes and calls at least once a week on people that are calling in to tell us the different acts of kindness that people in our office have done. It's been fantastic.
Absolutely. And so if you're interested, please let us know. Contact our office. Remember, we're here live tonight, okay, and we're taking calls. We'll answer your questions. We're trying to get to all of them. Last week we were able to get to a bunch, but we weren't able to get to all of them. 774-7790. Call in live. That's 774-7790. We have people waiting by to take those questions, get them to us on the air, and we'll be happy to answer them. And
just to make sure these guys know, I mean, as Chad said, we're here live. I mean, we're right now here in front of you, and we're not here to just talk about random acts of kindness. We're here to talk about whatever legal questions you might have. We got some pretty smart guys over here. We got some people back at the office that can answer questions for us. You got a legal question that you're sitting at home going, man, I need to solve this problem. Call us, 774-7790, and we're here to help you. As I told you last week, man, this is our second week, and we're excited to do this. As I told you last week, we don't have all the answers. We're going to do our darndest to figure out what the answers are.
Absolutely.
So call us.
Absolutely. And sometimes, you know, one of the other organizations that we do, Thirst for Justice, and just answering legal questions, and sometimes it's just pointing you in the right direction. I know that if you don't know an attorney or don't know how to get to an attorney, and you have a legal question that is on your mind and you just don't even know where to begin, call in and we can point you in the right direction and hopefully get you some help. Or, you know, call our office during the week, and we'll have attorneys on call right there ready to answer questions. No charge. There's a free consultation. And again, it's our way just of giving back to the community and making sure that people just get those legal questions answered and get going in the right direction.
I'll even say this. We'll probably get questions that we don't know the answer to. We represent injured people, and there's very different areas of law. There are going to be things we don't know, but what we will tell you is you can call us at office. We'll either answer the question or we'll point you in the right direction, or even if we get a question we can't answer this week, we'll do our best to get an answer for you next week, so you can not only tune in this week, but next week to get the answer.
Absolutely. So we're getting ready to go to a commercial break. Again, the number is 774-7790, 774-7790. Please call in. We've got people waiting to answer your questions, and take your questions down. We'll answer them online and on air, and we're going to go to break now. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome back to Dudley DeBosier On Demand. I am Chad Dudley here with my partners Stephen DeBosier and James Pelche. Thank you guys for calling in over the break. We got a bunch of calls on some pretty good questions, and so we're going to answer them as quickly as we can and get to as many as we can. The first question we had was from Sylvia in Baton Rouge, and she says, my son is taking me to the doctor and driving the car. If he gets in a wreck, does it go on her record, or I think she means her insurance, or does it go on her son's insurance?
That's a great question, and actually I'm going to give you three different answers to that. The first off, has a lot to do with who is at fault. It typically goes on the person who is at fault in the accident whose record it would be on. So in this case, I don't know if it was your son who caused the accident or somebody else, but if somebody else caused the accident, it won't go on your record regardless. If your son caused the wreck, then it could potentially go both on his insurance and your insurance and potentially raise the rates.
And that's right, because it depends on also how old your child is. If your child's under 18 years old, living in the household, if your child is, could be much older, we don't know, Sylvia, so we're going to do our best to answer the question. But if your child is, let's say, 25 years old, right, James, and driving your car, that's not going to be on your insurance. It's going to be on his record that he caused an accident, if he did. If he didn't cause the accident, well, then it's going to be on the other parties. And I think your question probably is it going to raise my rates? And I got to tell you, it's a magical system out there that insurance companies use to raise rates.
They're not supposed to, right?
They're not supposed to. If you're not at fault in the accident, they're not supposed to raise your rates. As a matter of fact, if the other car hits you, you should be going after their insurance company, and their rates may go up. Now, there's a little twist to that. If you have what's called uninsured motorist, or underinsured motorists where there's not enough coverage out there. You may also make a claim against your insurance coverage, but your rate should not be raised because you make a claim against your uninsured motorist if you are not at fault for the accident. So.
And James, and Steve, that's a question we get all the time, right? When someone they're in an accident, it wasn't their fault, and the main question is am I going to have to pay higher premiums? And the short answer is no. But you said sometimes insurance companies can do some fuzzy magic, fuzzy math behind the scenes. But if you make a claim on your carrier, or if the other party was at fault, your rates should not go up. You should not be penalized for being involved in an accident.
I'll tell you that we're going to get to that section in a little bit, but here's the short answer is, who knows? Mm-hmm. Because what we found, if you guys out there driving cars in the state of Louisiana and you're paying for insurance, right? Well, you know that you're paying a lot for insurance. And you may have figured this out by now, is that insurance companies don't come to you and say, hey, guess what? We're going to charge you less. There's only one direction that they go, and that's up. And they have all kind of different formulas, and I've talked a lot to the insurance commissioner about how we can control this issue, what we could do to help with that problem. It's been a real difficult issue in Louisiana, but nationwide as well, and it's a topic that comes up often.
Absolutely, and it's a legitimate concern. You don't want to pay more in your insurance premiums if someone else was at fault. Well, another question that we got and that came in is from Judy and Zachary, and her question was, if I'm in an accident, wasn't my fault, and I have some property damage, and I file it under my own insurance, you have to pay a deductible. Am I ever going to get that deductible back? That's another question that comes up all the time.
James, you want to take that? You want me to take it?
Well, I mean, the answer is you don't get it back initially, but you should. As long as the other person has insurance coverage. Well, let me start with this. If you get in a wreck, you don't have to go against your insurance coverage. You may go against yours or the person that's at fault. If the person at fault never has insurance coverage and you go against yours, you may not get that deductible back. But as long as the other person is at fault and you get to go through their insurance coverage or you go through yours, you should be able to recover back whatever your deductible was at some point, even though you may have to put it up in the beginning.
That's right. And really what's supposed to happen is, let's assume I'll make up some insurance companies. Let's say State Farm. I'm kidding. But if you have an insurance company that you go and say, look, pay my property damage, their obligation is to go back to the other insurance company for the at-fault party and get your deductible back. The problem is, what their biggest concern is getting the money that they paid out. You got $6,000 of the property damage. They pay the $6,000 that they paid out. They get it back, and then they kind of don't worry about it. But some of them actually go out of the way. Some of there's good people out there, good companies that go out of the way to get your deductible back, because now with our insurance premiums so high, there's a lot of people that have $500,000 deductibles. They want to make sure that they get that money back. It's important to them, particularly when they're minding their own business. Mm-hmm. Somebody runs into them and causes all these problems for them, Chad.
Absolutely. And on a related question is, when you are in an accident, wasn't your fault, should you file it under your insurance or the other party's insurance? I know that when we talk with our clients, ideally, if the other insurance company is going to treat you fairly and is moving and aggressive in resolving the claim, sometimes it's easier to just let them go through it and finalize your property damage with that company. However, sometimes they're disputing liability, they're insured or their driver's telling them they weren't at fault, causes some issues, and a lot of people then decide, you know what, I'm not going to mess with these guys, I'm going to go handle it under my own insurance company, and that's when they run into these deductible issues.
And that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're asking what you should do first, my suggestion is to contact the other insurance company and try to get them to pay for it first. If you run into problems, then go back to your insurance company and see if you can work through them. You have a relationship with them. They're more likely to treat you right, if you ask me, and then let them handle going back and getting the money back in your deductible.
That's right, James. But the other part of that is to make sure you contact your own insurance carrier and let them know that you were in an accident. Let them know what's going on. So if you do need their help, you can get to them. But there's one little problem with that, and that is if you're hurt in that accident, they're going to start asking you questions, and they're not asking questions to help you at that point. They're asking questions to minimize what they may have to pay, depending on what type of insurance coverage you have. So be very careful when they start getting into beyond the damage to your vehicle, which is called property damage. When they start talking about bodily injury problems, damage to your body, I'd be a little more apprehensive in how you answer those questions, and that's probably when you need to talk to a professional that can help you out.
You have no obligation to talk to them about your injuries at that time. And whether it's your insurance company or the other insurance company, it's the one time that they actually do have an obligation to deal with you fairly, or at least they're supposed to deal with you fairly on your property damage. So if they don't, you actually have some way, you have some resolve if they don't treat you fairly on your property damage. It's called bad faith.
It's a great answer for that, but let me just point out something, because we're about to go to a break. And these are some great questions that we have. We got some other questions coming in. But remember, we're here right now live, right in front of you guys to help you. Remember our random act of kindness? This is our opportunity to go back to the public and say, how can we help you? Lawyers always want to charge people for everything they do. We're not charging anything. Here's your opportunity to call us, say, here's our question. Can you help me? Can you give me an answer? We're going to do it. You just pick up the phone and dial 774-7790, 774-7790. And we're going to be right here to help you. Right, Chad?
No, absolutely. Just keep those calls coming in. We want to answer and get to as many questions as we can. We're getting some good ones. Got some good ones last week. Some other ones are coming in this week. And it's what makes the show work. So we need your calls. We need your participation. We're happy. We're here. We're going to a commercial break. Dudley DeBosier on demand, 774-7790. Thank you.
America's got...
Welcome back to Dudley DeBosier on Demand. I am Chad Dudley with my partner Stephen DeBosier and James Pelche. We're answering questions live right here. You got questions, we got answers. Guys, the phones blew up over the break. We got lots of questions, and let's go ahead and get to them. The first one was from Latangela in Baton Rouge. Steve, you got...
Chad, maybe we should start charging people.
No, no way. No way. No. Latangela from Baton Rouge, she says, when I'm going to go hire an attorney, what questions should I ask at that initial consultation? This is a very, very good question, because a lot of times if you're not familiar with having a visit with a lawyer or talking to a lawyer, there's a couple things you want to make sure that you ask in that first meeting, and some clients and some people don't know where they should start.
I think one of the first places to start is, if I hire you guys, is there going to be a lawyer representing me, or is there going to be somebody else representing me? And you got to make sure you have a lawyer representing you. But then, the important part is people are always concerned, how am I going to pay my lawyer? Because I got to assume that you guys aren't doing this for free. And the truth is, we don't do it for free. We do get paid for what we're doing. And so figure out how it's going to be paid. We have what's called the no fee guarantee.
Right.
It's been a great thing for us, and it's been a great thing for the public. And it's simply this, is that we don't charge anybody any money ever until we get money for you. And then we charge a percentage of what we collect. But if things go bad, if something happens, we find out there's no insurance, because we're going to get to somebody had a question about that, right,
Absolutely.
Jay?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
If those things happen, we run into costs, we run into expenses, we do a lot of legal work and find out, well, there's no money available. We don't send anybody a bill. We just say, look, we did the best we can in the situation, and there's just no money, and that's where we are. And so at the end of the day, you don't pay until we get money, so that you're not writing a check ever. At the end of the case, we settle the case, we go to trial, we get a judgment for you. Either way, however it settles up, is that we get there and we take a portion of the fee and we talk to you about it and we get everything straight. And then at the end of the day, you get your money, and then our fees comes out of that.
But not all attorneys operate that way, right?
That's right.
Not all of them operate that way. There's another thing we do also that not all attorneys do. As a matter of fact, I think most of them don't. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people and they've told me they had another attorney and they came back and somehow the attorney walked away with more money than they did. We don't do that. We make sure we don't walk away with more money than you do. Our fees will never exceed the amount of money that you get. Usually it's a lot less or a good bit less than you'll ever get. But even if it's in a situation where there's not enough insurance coverage, we may walk away with a tiny fee or even no fee depending on what happens. But we make sure that that story will never be told that Dudley DeBosier has walked away with more money than our clients.
Yeah, absolutely. But then there's also other types of areas of law where they don't handle it on a contingency fee, and you just got to be very careful. You might go in and they might be charging you by the hour. You might be have to come up with the initial fee for the first consultation, depending on different types of areas of law.
That's a good point,
Jay.
Jay.
Very, very important to make sure that you have all that lined out before you incur any charges. Are you going to be liable for the attorney's hourly rate? Are you going to be liable for the expenses in the case? All those things. Ask them those questions. I think some other things that are important to ask your attorney in that first meeting are, what are the expectations? What are you responsible for as a client, and what is the attorney going to cover as your representative in this case? Some people sometimes walk away from the initial consultation thinking, okay, my attorney is going to just run and do everything. And while that's true, they do a lot. We still rely upon our clients and lots of communication with our clients. We're communicating with our clients constantly through the life of the case. And
Absolutely,
we need them
Jim.
to give us information about where they're treating, what's going on with their, where are they still hurting, are they still working, stuff like that. And that's a vital part of the relationship.
And it's not just a part of making it where we do less work. It's so that we can represent our clients properly. If I don't know the pains you're having, the problems you're having, I may not know the type of doctors or the type of treatment that you may need to have. I may not know that you've missed work, and we need to make sure that we put part of the claim to get you compensated for the work that you missed. So the communication is vital, not so I do less work, but usually the communication has me doing more work for you to make sure that you're fairly compensated.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that it's important to line out with your attorney the expectations of communication. Because if I call you, are you going to return my phone call promptly? If I have questions, do I get to talk to you and ask questions? Are you charging me for that time, or can I ask as many questions as I want? And it's important to get all that stuff lined out in the get-go so that you're not surprised with some huge attorney bill at some point in your case.
And the question itself was about hiring a lawyer, not necessarily a personal injury lawyer. One of the things you may want to ask is, what are your areas of practice? There are, if you came to Dudley DeBosier to hire us, we would not handle a family law case for you. And it's important to make sure that the person you talk to hire, if it's an accident case, regularly does accident cases, does injury cases. It's very difficult in today's world to be a jack of all trades. It's very difficult to try to practice in all areas of law. 30 years ago in a small community, you may have a lawyer that did a little bit of everything. But nowadays, with the doctors, the treatment, with everything going on, I think it's very important to make sure that the attorney that you hire, and I don't want to say the word specializes because you're not able to just specialize, but really focuses on the type of law that you need and knows as much as he can about that as opposed to everything in the world, because you're going to need that type of knowledge when you're going up against the insurance companies that have hired defense attorneys.
Sure.
that focus on the defense side.
Absolutely. And another way to put this question is, what should the client expect from their lawyer, right? I mean, from their end, I mean, you can ask them certain questions, but as a client, what should you expect from your attorney? We always tell our clients, look, 3 things. We want to make sure that everyone at our office treats you nice. That simple. That whether it's our receptionist or one of the attorneys or legal assistants, that everyone treats you right. The second thing,
With respect, right?
with respect, professional, courteous. And the second thing we want to make sure is that you're receiving constant communication from our office. That communication is never issued. The phone calls are returned, questions are being answered, and that you're communicating with our office. The third thing is that we want to make sure that you have a clear understanding of your case. That if it takes face-to-face meetings or it takes longer phone calls to answer your questions and explain the legal jargon sometimes that is going on, that you walk away able to make decisions on your own because you understand what's going on in your case. And I think those 3 things, regardless of the type of law, I would say you should expect from any attorney.
That's
You agree?
right. That's right. And I think, one of the most common questions we get, guys, is they'll come in there and they'll say, well, clients want to know, well, how long is this going to take? Right?
Yeah.
That's a tough question. So, we tell people all the time, it just depends. We work for you. It's not the other way around, okay? So you make the decisions, but a lot of times we don't know. A lot of times in the case like we handle it, it may take a long time to get resolved, and sometimes it may take a short time, and it depends on how long people are hurt. Depends on the type of case. But I will tell you this, guys, we're about to go to break again, and I keep telling you, we're here live. Some people have taken advantage of it, and I think it's fantastic. We're doing this for the community. We're doing this for the people that we are lucky enough to represent. Call us at 774-7790. 774-7790. Ask us whatever legal questions you have. We're going to do our darn best to answer those questions. Right, James?
That's right.
On Demand. I am Chad Dudley. Here's my partners, Stephen DeBosier and James Peltier. You got questions, we got answers. Call in if you have a legal question to 774-7790. We're taking live calls and answering those questions right now, right here. And we're having lots of fun. And thank you for everyone that's been calling in. We've got lots of participation. It's been great. One of the questions over the break concerns a privilege, correct? And there's different types of privileges out there that protect communication, sometimes between an attorney and a client,
a husband and a wife,
a doctor and a patient.
Absolutely.
And there's a recent Supreme Court decision regarding the privilege in a confessional setting, correct?
Yeah.
And it was kind of controversial. We had a caller that had read a little bit about it and had some questions about it. James, I know you've been watching this particular issue with some interest, and tell us a little bit about it.
I do. I followed it a little bit even before the caller came in.
It's an interesting case.
It really is. I this week several people came and talked to me. I'm a Christian. I've got two daughters, so in multiple ways this case hit home with me.
Sometimes go to confession, huh?
And I do go to confession also. That's right. Well, I mean, here's the gist of the case, and the reason it came to light is the Baton Rouge Catholic Diocese read at Mass this weekend a statement kind of talking about where they stood on it, and the people that came to me after hearing that statement were afraid that the Supreme Court had made a ruling that the priest now may have to divulge what was said in the communications in whenever a confession was going on. I went back and I read the statement from the diocese, and the statement doesn't necessarily say that, but I do understand why when people read it or heard it, they may believe that's what the Supreme Court said.
Which often happens when a legal decision comes down. Your neighbor hears something, they put their spin on it, and someone else puts their spin on it, and then by the end you get this sort of confused interpretation of the ruling.
And I'll do my best. I mean, we've got about 5-minute segment, so I'll do my best to it's a pretty complicated case. But what happened was there was a 14-year-old girl that was either being molested or to some extent a person that was going to the church that was regularly there had committed some crimes against her. She had apparently gone to confession and had talked.
Well, it's early in the case, so it's allegedly.
Let's say that allegedly. The allegations are that occurred, and that she had then gone to talk to the priest in a confessional setting and let the priest know what had happened.
Sure.
And then the case kind of went forward a little bit to the extent that they tried to file criminal charges. Later it came out, let me put it this way, later it came out that it occurred. The priest didn't tell anybody, but the daughter told the parents, and they filed some charges against the person that had done the molestation. The case went forward, but not only did they make a case against that person, but they also made a case against the Catholic Church, because we have some rules out there that if you know about that occurring, you have an obligation, people in certain positions have an obligation to report it. So the question is, would they have that obligation within a setting of a confession to report it? And
so I guess the problem is you got this conflict of how important people be able to confess, right? I mean, that's important in every religion, to be able to give them to confess their sins, absolve themselves of their sins, and try to do the right thing. And then you got this other competing part of the state trying to protect its citizens from people doing the wrong thing. And so now we have a situation where a priest is in a real difficult position. Somebody's confessed to them something that's terrible, right? And then he's got his obligation to keep that confined and not to tell anybody, because he has this oath to keep that private. Then you got the state that wants to make sure that somebody's molesting somebody's darn sure going to go to jail for that, right?
That's right. And so the crux of the decision that came down, and the reason we're talking about this is I want you viewers to know that I read the case, I looked at the law. I am not seeing where you have to worry about you going to confession and confessing a sin to a priest, and then the priest may have to come back and testify about it, or our law says they do. Here's the kicker on it. Every state in the United States recognizes that confession is important, and they see a benefit to it, and every state recognizes that there is a privilege in confession.
It's so important that it's our First Amendment right, right?
First Amendment
right is freedom of religion.
Freedom of religion, and every state recognizes that in a confessional setting, you have a right, or there is a privilege not to have that divulged. Now, the question is, who has that privilege? Is it the priest that gets to say, I'm not going to say it, or is it the person giving the confession? And I believe it's 31 states, the privilege is with the person that's giving the confession. And I think it's important for you to know it out there, because it made me feel better when I read it, and people I talked to, after I talked to them, it made them feel better. The fact that you have, in our state, you have...
What is it in Louisiana? What's the rule right here in Louisiana?
The rule in Louisiana is if you go to a priest and you give a confession, even if you confessed a crime, he cannot go tell. You have the right to tell the courts, I do not want him to be able to go testify about what occurred. The privilege relies with you, the person that gave the confession, to say it cannot be used. That's the same way in 31 states. In some states, the privilege is with the priest to say neither one of you can talk about it. But in Louisiana, you don't have to worry, because our state is not going to require the priest to testify on anything you tell him, because you have that privilege to say, please do not tell it. Now, the priest is in a really tough spot. Because in this case, she did. She told everybody what happened in confession, and she wanted the priest to tell what happened in confession, but the priest is in a tough spot. And here's the reason. In Louisiana, he doesn't have the privilege. It appears to be the privilege of the person giving the confession. However, the priest, by canon law, is not allowed to say what happened in confession, whether or not...
And canon law is the law of the church. Canon law's got nothing to do with the law we practice. That's the law of the Catholic Church.
And canon law says the priest cannot divulge what was said in confession, whether I want him to or he wants to. He can't divulge it no matter what, or he's excommunicated.
Wow.
So...
And excommunicated means what?
Kicked out the church.
That's right.
And so it's going to be a tough spot, because in this case... I think the Supreme Court did not say that he's got to come in and say what happened in confession. The Supreme Court said you get to come back and we're going to find out whether the communication even occurred during a confession, or if in fact maybe it occurred during a confession and we talked about it outside of confession with other people, which might undo the privilege also. But in this case, the priest is still in a tough spot if the court would try to tell him it was the person giving the confession's privilege, and so he has to tell. My suspicion is he won't. I don't think he should, but he may have some penalties by our state if he doesn't. And so it's a tough case. The Louisiana Supreme Court has ruled. I would not be surprised if the Catholic Church takes it up to have a decision from our Supreme Court.
Very interesting issue, and we're going to go cut to a break real quick. Again, Dudley DeBosier on demand, 774-7790. Very interesting issue. We'll be back with some more questions soon. Thank you. Welcome back to Dudley DeBosier On Demand. We are live. I am Chad Dudley. I'm here with my partner, Stephen DeBosier, and other partner, James Peltier. We're answering questions live. You got questions, we got answers, and the phone lines lighting up again over the break, and we're going to try and do something a little bit different here, almost our power round. We're going to try and knock through a bunch of questions that came in, not rush through them, but as quickly as possible. The first question we got is that if an insurance company is offering me a nice settlement right after the accident, this happens sometimes, should I take it? Should I just take it right then and there and call it a day?
I'll take the first one, Steve.
I want to take this, James.
I'll jump right in. Let me tell you, one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen out there is I've had friends and people I know that have taken that quick $500, $1,000, $1,500 settlement, only to find out later they were still hurting for a long time. They get an MRI, they got a serious injury, and once you take that money and you sign that release, you're done. That little bit of money is rarely worth it for what could be down the line, whether it's lost wages, medical bills. I can't tell you how many clients we've had that have come in that don't feel real bad, but it gets worse and worse and worse. And so,
James, how many people do we have that feel fine the next day? And then all of a sudden, 2 days later, they're in incredible pain. They can't go back to work. They can't do things like that.
family members, friends getting wrecks and call and say, I'm fine. They wake up the next morning, they're stiff and hurting as bad as can be, or several days later. It's
a strategy of some insurance companies, right? They just said, look, let's just cut this person a quick check, get them to sign the release, and
it's a math game that they know works better for them, and that's why they do it.
Yeah, that's why they say, you don't need to call a lawyer, right, Jay?
That's right. That's right.
Don't call us. They're just gonna, make us pay more money.
Be aware of the quick settlement offer after you've been in an accident. Make sure you know what your injuries are.
I know this is a quick round, but let me just add one little part to that. If they're offering you $1,500 on Tuesday, they're probably going to offer you $1,500 on Friday, and then the next Tuesday and the next Friday. It's not going away. Mm-hmm. It's not something you got to take it, or we're going to take it off the table. Know what's going on. Get some information. Find out. Call somebody. Call a lawyer. Call us at 444-4444. We'll help you out. And we might just say it's a good idea to take it.
It might be. And the point is, don't take it right away. Wait a week, see if you're still hurting or still having any problems. You've got 1 year from the date the incident occurred to make sure you either settle a claim or you file a lawsuit. There is no rush to take it right away. Wait a week, wait 2 weeks, see if you have a problem. If you need to consult an attorney, please call us.
Yeah, so 2 ways that clients can potentially harm their claim, right? Is they sign that release, the claim's over, or they wait longer than a year, claim's over. And we see that happen. It's sad. And don't let that happen to you.
Absolutely, Jay.
Another question that we got that came in from Frank from Baton Rouge, and he says he was riding the city bus and a car hit the bus, but that car did not have any insurance. What are his options? That's a
What's his name again?
It's Frank from Baton Rouge.
Frank should have been paying attention last week.
That's
If
right.
he'd have paid attention last week, we'd have told him this. No, I'm just messing with you, Frank. The truth is that there's problems with uninsured motorists. As we talked about last week, 14% of the drivers don't have insurance. But what you said was very interesting to us as lawyers, because when you start saying somebody was driving the car that didn't own the car, we talked about this last week, there's several opportunities for insurance there. You might have your own insurance if you have your own insurance where uninsured motorist coverage would come into play. If you have insurance on the car that hit you, what you said that's not there, then you go to another step and you look at the insurance of the person driving the car. If that person had insurance. So you get about 3 or 4 different opportunities.
There's more than that, Steve, and that's kind of why, especially in those cases, if they tell you there's not enough insurance coverage to cover your injuries, more the reason to hire an attorney. Steve just gave you a couple instances, not only insurance coverage on the car, but the driver's insurance. Let's say he doesn't have his own car. You may be a resident relative, meaning he may live with somebody in his household that has insurance coverage that might cover him. He may be running an errand for work, and therefore he falls under the course and scope of his employment, meaning he's working for his employer, so his employer's insurance coverage may step in. So there's a lot of things you really need to look at. It doesn't happen as often with no insurance, but regularly we get calls if somebody's got a significant injury. There's a relatively small policy. They've offered the policy limits, and they think that's it, and so they're considering taking it. And then we go do discovery. We take depositions, and we find out there's multiple layers of other policies that we can help people with.
That's a very good point. If the injuries are severe, it's worth getting an attorney involved, making sure that there's no other avenues of recovery, because at the end of the day, if you don't get that extra layer of coverage, then who bears the cost of those bills? I mean, the client will.
Great example, we had a case, there was a $25,000 policy. The person had over $40,000 in medical bills, and they thought that was it, and they were just going to take the policy. After talking to them, we filed suit, we did some depositions, and we found a $1 million policy on top of it, and we ended up getting a fantastic settlement for that person that if they didn't know any better and they didn't dig into it any deeper, then they wouldn't have been able to get the very fair settlement that they got. The other thing we did for that person, the $25,000 was already on the table. We took no fee on the amount of money that was already offered to him in that particular case, especially as bad as the injuries were. So there's really very little risk to them in a very serious situation for us to look into it and find a lot more coverage for them.
I think we've always handled it on a case-by-case basis, where a client comes in, and if they said, look, I was in this terrible accident, I got $40,000 in medical bills, there appears to only be a $25,000 policy, I know that we'll look at it, and at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the client says that Dudley DeBosier treated me right, and we'll handle it appropriately in some tough situations.
That's right. And so, Frank, here's the issue, is that you called 774-7790. You got free advice here today, right, Chad? Right, James? You could call us at our office at 444-4444, and we'll give you free advice there as well. We'll get you in the right direction and make sure that you're not, missing out on an opportunity, missing out on a way to solve some of the problems that you may be having from your injury. So sitting on your couch and not doing anything about it's a bad idea, right, James?
It is, but I'll also tell you, here's the other thing. Very often, somebody will call in and I can't give them a good answer. And it disappoints me, but I give them the real answer, not an answer that they want to hear. But at least when they settle the case or they walk away, they walk away with a peace of mind that they got some good advice and they're not thinking, did I do the wrong thing? So it's worth asking the question, even if you don't necessarily get the answer you want, but you get the real answer from us, and we do our best to do that.
And sometimes the real answer is, look, there's no other coverage out there, and you're going to get these limits whether we're involved or not, and we advise the client to go forward and file a claim, and our goal is to do what's in the best interest of the client in each and every situation, regardless of how it affects us.
And we have that situation where we tell them you do it on your own. You don't need our assistance, because if you hire us to do it, we'd have to charge you a fee to do it, and it's going to hurt you. And we tell people all the time, here's how you do it on your own. It's in your best interest.
Absolutely. Dudley DeBosier on demand. We're going to break. Thank you for calling. Let's get those calls. Keep coming in. 774-7790. Dudley DeBosier on demand. Welcome back to Dudley DeBosier On Demand. We are live. I am Chad Dudley, and my partners Stephen DeBosier and James Peltier. You got questions, we got answers. It's been a fun hour. We got some more calls coming in. If you didn't get in on this show this week, send us an email at Dudley DeBosier by emailing us at questions@dudleydebosier.com or calling our office at 444-4444 and tell them that you are calling in regarding Dudley DeBosier On Demand and you have a question, and we'll make sure we get to it on air. Guys, we had some other questions that came in over the break. One of them was...
Chad, before we get to those questions, since this is our last segment, we got to make sure these guys come by and say hello to us at the Random Acts of Kindness tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Get some lemonade, come by and get some lemonade and help out the Children's Hospital.
11:30 to 1:30 tomorrow at our office. Come get some of Leroy's lip-smacking lemonade and have some fun. It's going to be hot, and we're going to have some lemonade. One of the questions we had, it was from another Jeff in Baker, and his question was, I was not wearing my seatbelt. I wasn't at fault, but I wasn't wearing my seatbelt and was rear-ended. Can I still recover for my injuries?
That's a great question, because everybody knows that it is the law that you must wear your seatbelt, and although you can get a ticket for not wearing your seatbelt, the legislature did put in the fact that that's not one of the things that they can even ask in a civil case. So the fact that you weren't wearing your seatbelt should not, if you've got a competent attorney, it should not come up that you did not have your seatbelt on, so it will not affect your recovery in the case. Good question.
But I'll tell you what, Jeff, here's my suggestion to you, man. Wear your seatbelt. Wear your seatbelt. Some of the injuries that we have seen from people not wearing the seatbelt is horrific, and we have enough business. We appreciate the business we have. We don't need extra business from people not wearing a seatbelt. We really promote the safety in our city and protect yourself from the bad drivers that do drive in our city.
No, absolutely. The next call that we had was from Tom in Baton Rouge, and he says, look, do I have a case against the manufacturer of the vehicle if the airbags did not deploy? And this is kind of a tricky one, because we know that sometimes you're in accidents. I know we'll look at every single avenue of recovery, what went wrong, what happened, and there are cases where The airbags are supposed to go off. They're supposed to protect the drivers. They're required to put those in and do so by law. If they don't go off properly, sometimes there is a claim, but what I think we've found is that unless the injuries are pretty severe, that these are tough claims. Not that we won't bring them, but we have to evaluate them very, very carefully. Often have to bring in experts from across the country to come in and testify that the airbag did not function properly.
Yeah, Chad, but I'll tell you, there's another part to this, and anybody that's watched the news lately and kept up with legislation, General Motors has put out some pretty bad cars lately, and they got some problems about these ignition switches going out and hurting people. But the problem is that you got a case against the manufacturer of the vehicle, not necessarily against the person that hit you, or sometimes it's the person that hit you and the car manufacturer. But they're complicated cases, I got to tell you, and they fight hard. As you see now, it's how GM's out there fighting hard to protect themselves and not the people that are driving their cars.
The point being, if you have a minor injury, it's usually very difficult in order to bring a case against the manufacturer himself. Sure. But in those cases where you have significant injuries and there's not going to be enough insurance coverage there, then certainly it's something you're going to want to look into, and we do look into when necessary.
No, absolutely.
And let me warn you guys in the audience about something. We hear this term minor injury, as James pointed out. Sometimes you start off thinking your injury is minor, right? And then all of a sudden you realize, and this is a lot worse. It's not going away. It's affecting my daily living. It's affecting the way I play with my kids. There's a lot of issues. So we encourage people to call us and find out, what's going on with their case and what's going on with their injuries so that we can help them out if we need to, right?
It's funny, I have two brothers. They're both doctors, and Steve and I go skiing with them every year. We sit in the hot tub and talk about things. They're amazed at how knowledgeable we are on the medical side, especially when you're dealing with the spine, whether it's the neck or the back. Pretty proud of how, I hate to use the word note up, but we really know it well. We take the depositions of the doctors, we study it. Certainly we are no doctors, but even if you have questions on the medical side, some of that we can help answer.
Absolutely. Another question that we got was, can you describe what do they mean when they say the salvage value of my vehicle? And I think what this caller is referring to is when you have a property damage claim, the first determination is, is it a total loss, or are they going to try and repair the vehicle? And a total loss means that the cost to repair the vehicle is more than the actual cash value of the vehicle. And so what happens is that the salvage value is going, hey, can I keep my car? If you're going to pay me for my car, can I at least keep the scrap metal? And that's where this term comes along, correct?
Well, I'll tell you, we are in the lightning round with a minute
Sure.
left, so I'll give you my best answer about this. The salvage value is the car's totaled, and then they can say, we can pay you $5,000, which is the value of your vehicle, or we can pay you $4,500, and you can keep the car. That $500 is the salvage value of the vehicle. Be very careful when you do that, because once you do that, that vehicle is tagged as a total loss. So when you try to resell it, it's got a little flag on it at the DMV and some other places that shows it as a total loss. It's hard to resell that vehicle.
Absolutely. And we're getting ready to shut down the show for this week. And again, I'm Chad Dudley, my partner's Stephen DeBosier, James Pelche. Guys, it's been fun.
Absolutely, man. This is fantastic.
My first week here, very exciting.
We promised it was going to be exciting with James Pelche, and I believe it lived up to billing. Glad to have you here, James. And,
Absolutely.
Please get those questions in to Dudley DeBosier by emailing us at questions@dudleydebosier.com. Call us during the week if you want something answered on the air, or talk to one of our attorneys there. Thank you.